Izzy may just be the toughest one yet, since she always seems to do things that make her loss an inevitability rather than a matter of doing the right or wrong actions. With that being said, let's see what I can do for her here. First things first, I'm going off the assumption the RCMP chasing her off was only due to Izzy tipping them off on her location. This is pure copium, but I need to think of something to avoid her getting eliminated here, because let's be real, talking about her in only merge is way less interesting. This is such a simple solution that I could easily see the Bass figuring this out on their own. Harold offers to push them all back to shore, which a character like Duncan or Courtney would joke about before Bridget would say that someone could probably push them back to camp if they were beefy enough, so DJ pushes them back to camp, getting them the win and saving my Raiders pet Harold another day. Now, who leaves on the Gophers now that Izzy isn't a primary option? I have no idea. In canon, Lindsay was in the bottom two, but I assume that's because everyone was just tired of Izzy and voted for her unanimously, while Izzy voted for Lindsay. In this timeline, Heather would get her alliance of Beth, Lindsay, Izzy, and Owen to vote for Lashana because Heather made a comment about making Lashana pay and did nothing about it in canon. This led to the worst elimination in Total Drama Island. At least here it's thematic. Paintball Deer Hunt won't have many changes, with Izzy being able to chase down DJ far better than Owen, but other than that, there's nothing else that changes and Cody leaves. In the cooking challenge, literally nothing changes. Izzy is in a better position if she just doesn't do a single thing, which honestly, that's just Izzy. Goodbye, Beth. For the Trust Building Challenge, Part 1 does not change at all with Gophers winning, Part 2 would have Bass winning, Part 3 will have Gophers winning with Izzy shooting the apples instead of Lashana, Part 4 will have no changes with Bass winning. Finally, in Part 5, where the tiebreaker round, it would be Gwen and Izzy versus DJ and Duncan, where DJ takes off his blindfold to get motivation and Chris has them lose. Sadie's still going. Okay, why are the Gophers so stacked? These teams do not make sense in terms of balance at all. Izzy doesn't even need to do anything. The Gophers would win anyway. Courtney leaves. Not a ton of changes here besides the poem subplot just not existing. Along with that, Izzy gets to take Lashana's role in the challenge and wins a point for the Gophers still. Other than that, Harold still goes and that's the episode. In episode 14, instead of half the girls' cabin being against Heather, it would only be Gwen this time, so she wouldn't need to cause as much of a ruckus. Bridget would just feel like an outsider but would be friends with Heather reluctantly, even with a nagging sensation that Heather isn't telling the truth. Girls still lose because I doubt Izzy could beat Owen in an eating competition. For the first episode of Merge, the returnees would be Courtney and Eva. I was thinking of Lashana, but at that point it would just be a canon Merge timeline, and I think bringing Courtney back due to her elimination is much better. Duncan would obviously be happy, while Izzy would be thinking about placing herself into Courtney's good graces by welcoming her back in her own Izzy way. Izzy still does the same thing she does in canon, and unlike in canon, Courtney isn't a hero here. She's as ready to win as Eva is. So in the end, Courtney wins immunity against Molotov the Bear and Eva goes home. The only stipulation is that Duncan doesn't vote for Heather because Courtney already found out it was Harold that did it. In this episode, the Courtney Alliance and Gwen Alliance would begin to emerge and sides would be drawn in the girls' cabin, with Bridget, Courtney, and Gwen being in Courtney's alliance and Izzy, Lindsay, and Heather being in Heather's alliance. The episode's main story would be revolved around the groups trying to recruit everyone remaining into the alliance. Izzy would be able to get Owen into Heather's rather easily, with Jeff, Trent, and Duncan all joining Courtney's due to loving someone on Courtney's alliance. DJ would refuse to join either group, not liking the conflict going on. Heather would do the exact same thing she does to Trent, but with even more ammunition this time by saying that the only reason she is with Trent is that she needed him in the alliance. Trent would agree to join Heather, and Gwen would see Trent and Heather kiss. This would make the alliances even for now, but if you think Heather is keeping Trent, you're wrong. She throws Trent out immediately. This event would actively put DJ on Courtney's side. In the hide and seek challenge, Izzy would begin to see how her alliance is a sinking ship and would want off of it fast. Izzy would know that if she goes straight to Courtney, she will be able to see through the ruse and will just use her. So instead, she goes to offer Gwen immunity since she wants Heather gone more than anyone. Gwen wouldn't know whether this was true, but considering how she's never formally been on Heather's side, she stands to believe it. And so Izzy throws the challenge to give Gwen immunity while Izzy hunts for a hider, and should be able to find someone rather easily. Gwen would tell Izzy to continue to go with Heather's alliance to have a voice from inside. Izzy would tell Gwen not to eliminate Owen since Owen can be recruited into a 3-member alliance to potentially break away from the majority Bass alliance. Heather still wins immunity as well though. The group split off into alliances and Gwen would pitch her case to Courtney's group since Izzy has never truly been on Heather's side. She's been playing Heather. Courtney would ask if she truly believes that and Duncan agrees, saying she's probably playing them. Bridget says that they should believe her. What do they have to lose? They hold the numbers advantage no matter what, and Jeff agrees and says that once it's final 7 they can vote her off. Courtney reluctantly agrees and asks who they should eliminate. They begin to fight over whether Lindsay or Owen should go. Bridget, Courtney, and by extension Duncan want Owen gone because he makes everything on the island reek of methane, and he would win any jury vote. Gwen would also be willing under normal circumstances, but considering Izzy's proposal, she'd rather vote Lindsay. Jeff and DJ would not want to vote off Owen and instead would want to vote off Lindsay with Gwen. This would prove to be their biggest mistake, as by the time elimination rolls around, they are not united as a group, and Owen and Lindsay both have 3 votes on them, but Heather's alliance with 4 votes votes off Duncan. In confessional, Heather would express that having a big alliance is great until you can't agree on who to vote on. Duncan has always been one of the strongest foundations of their alliance. Now Courtney's alliance will be in shambles. The alliance is indeed falling apart. Izzy decides to take Gwen for a ride as she realizes none of this matters. Lindsay still loses and goes home, unfortunately. Gwen would be super pissed until she sees Lindsay is eliminated and she'd think there's a weird amount of brain power in Izzy. You know, I keep wanting to do things in this story, but these 2 episodes are basically scripted. Courtney ends up fighting Chef and winning, like her current boyfriend did in canon. Gwen still wins and DJ goes home. Too bad, so sad, DJ never had a chance. Finally, we have something different. Final 7. Heather doesn't have a lot of good options, so she decides to try to form an alliance with Courtney. Unfortunately, unlike with Duncan, nobody on Courtney's alliance has betrayed her, so she would feel no need to join Heather. Gwen wins reward and Izzy helps Bridget capture her animal to win favor in her eyes. Bridget would ask Gwen if she wants to join an alliance with Izzy since Izzy is way nicer than both Heather and Courtney. They don't need Courtney or Heather to tell them what to do. Gwen agrees to create an alliance with Izzy and Izzy can easily get Owen into the group. This means Heather is unanimously voted against and eliminated. Courtney is now the only member of her alliance, sadly. Everybody has their own agenda and their own preferred final 3, all besides Gwen, who really couldn't care less as long as she survives. But now it's time for the challenge where Owen would be with Courtney, Izzy with Bridget, and finally Jeff and Gwen. Owen and Courtney win part 1, Jeff and Gwen win part 2, and finally Izzy and Bridget win part 3, meaning anyone can go home tonight. Sadly, Courtney's attempt with an alliance with Owen does not go well, and in the end Courtney is voted out. There isn't even a chance to eliminate Jeff here, as everyone knows how strong Courtney is as a competitor. If it was just Heather, they could eliminate Jeff freely, since Heather isn't that impressive in challenges, but Courtney is insanely talented ever since she came back into the competition. There's only really 2 options here, either Bridget or Jeff. I'm gonna guess Bridget, and it is only because Bridget consoled Sadie in episode 7 after Katie left. But honestly, that's a toss-up. Groups would be Izzy and Owen versus Gwen and Jeff. This is such a good matchup, genuinely, but in the end, we already know what happens with Owen on the team, so Owen's team goes to elimination, and unlike in canon, Owen is actually picked to be eliminated this time by Chef. For the Triple Dog Dare challenge, sadly, Jeff is leaving because of one challenge, and it's ironically the same one that gets Heather in canon. I just can't see Jeff being willing to get his hair cut. If there was someone on this team like Lashana or Heather, then those other challenges become a factor, but right now, all that does is put him on even ground, since the other 2 also would do the challenges Jeff would do. So in the end, Jeff is eliminated, with him telling both of them good luck. So the finale is here. Gwen's supporters would be Eva, Lashana, Cody, Trent, Jeff, and Bridget. You see how I did the character with Les first? That saved me so much editing time. In the end, both would be neck and neck until the ending where the RCMP get ready to arrest Izzy and would either tackle her into the finish line, giving her the victory, or tackling her just short of it, allowing Gwen to win. Either way, Izzy doesn't get to have the money right now as she has to deal with the Canadian government. And that's Can Izzy Win Total Drama Island? What did you think? It definitely started slow, but I think it picked up near merge and I really enjoyed making this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, please consider either liking the video, sharing it, or using the new hype points on it. Any of these options really help me out, and it's just a few seconds on your end. With all that being said, thank you for watching and have the day you deserve.